Good morning, all. I hope you slept well. I did sleep well. Ooh, I had some dreams. I did indeed. Candace didn't come on live yesterday. She must be on some serious unfoldings, I'd say. No doubt. Happy Wednesday. What an interesting world we live in. What an interesting time. I went to dinner with my brother last night. Had a nice time. Really nice time. That was crazy. I don't know why the light flickered, but and we had great conversation. We did indeed. And it meant a lot to me. It did. For some reason now, when I go out to eat, every time, something wrong with my meal. I'll tell you that. Either they bring me the wrong thing or it's cold. It's just always an interesting experience. I'm about to X-nay just going out, period. This day and age. It always seems to be an issue. But in reference to the company, I always love the company. But for some reason, the service at my local places is just an interesting concept. They're very sweet, you know. But there's always something wrong with my meal. Go figure. I don't ever like sending food back. I will ask for it to be warmed up if it's cold. I will ask that. But if they bring me out the wrong meal or something like that, I'll just take one for the team. It's just not a big deal to me. But I think it's comical to live in a world where people go out of their way to like make you frustrated or angry or just like, you know, mad or upset with just little things. Again, I'm not saying that that's the case when I go out to restaurants, but I do pick up on things in my regular day-to-day where people like make comments or just conversations or just things like that, just to kind of, you know, little jabs here and there. And it's just like, ain't nobody got time for that. I know I ain't got time for that. I'm over here in my mind trying to think about how we could save this world and the conditionings that it's in. That's what I'm thinking about in my mind. Not to mention thinking about just how dirty and how evil this whole thing has gotten and how big it's gotten. I think a lot about that. And I also think a lot about all those entangled in it and just almost feeling bad for the circumstances that we're all in, you know, that's involved in it. Not only myself, but for them too. And it's like, I just think to myself, like, golly, how do we get here? You know, what in people's minds and decision making and intentions leads people to make the decisions that they make where it could land them in a position like this? You know, even those, like, for example, in Charlie Kirk, you know, circumstances and his assassination, it's like, golly, I know. Right now they're trembling in their boots and they're questioning all their actions and their decisions. Like, if we could go back, we would do XYZ different, you know? And that's the thing, when you operate and move in your impulsive thinking and your intentional and your instant gratification thinking, and you don't, in your emotional thinking, you don't make choices that said you probably would make if you really sat and thought about it. You know, I've been picked up on as well, a lot of people haven't quite grasped emotional intelligence and patience. They're very, very quick to react. They're very, very quick to say something. They're very, very quick to jump the gun. And they don't know how to regulate their emotions. And this is a lot of the time when people say hurtful things or, you know, call people names or spread lies or spread narrations and spread, you know, all these different things depending on what the circumstances are. And a lot of the times it's just because people are running off their emotions. They're not actually running off their true thinking caps, which when I say true thinking caps, I'm saying their consciousness of, you know, what's right and wrong and their morals, their values, their integrity, their dignity, their grace, their ethics, because generally speaking, if you did take time to think about it before you respond to things and you ask yourself those questions, you wouldn't respond and do the things that you do. You just wouldn't. I can assure you, you wouldn't. But see, we live in a time now where so often enough people respond so hastily. And believe me, I know, I used to be one of those people too. I did, until I just learned that some things are just better left unsaid. You know, sometimes it's just better to move in silence and just let people think what they're going to think. They're going to do it anyways. People are who they are. They're going to think how they think. They're going to operate how they operate. And it's just one of those things, you can't change it. You cannot change that. All you can do is change yourself. All you can do is take accountability of yourself, your actions, your thoughts, your forward trajectory. Someone has to teach, or someone has to reach those who have been forgotten. Someone must rescue children from sex slave trade. Someone has to give answers to the druggie on the street corner. Someone needs to help the spiritual impoverished in this country in faraway lands. Often we become so consumed with our own lives and the circles we are in that we forget there's a world of desperate need of help. Let me encourage you today that you can make a difference, whether you're called to walk among the nations, feel joyful, burdened to intercede, or to reach out to the forgotten ones in your own city. There's always a way to call to run with Jesus. Don't be discouraged or neglect to let the light shine in the darkest places. Even if the task feels too big, remember you serve a big God. Ooh, my back just did that. And that's the truth. We all serve a big God, and there is never a task too big. And you can start by today in reference to changing your trajectory of thoughts, being a little bit more kind, being a little bit more compassionate, being a little bit more honest, truthful, and not allowing your ego, your flesh, and your pride and money dictate your trajectory. We can start by today and create change, and it becomes a ripple effect. You can, just like I can. It's going to take all of us to start moving and operating in love for the change to transpire, and it is transpiring. Whether you like it or not, the change is coming. It's already here. The moment so-and-so and so-and-so said Epstein who was really a trajectory change, and then the moment Charlie Kirk took a bullet was a trajectory change. These are huge things that will go down in the history books, okay? And it's like, you are in the position where you can go down in history too, in reference to how you respond, what side of the fence you're on, what do you stand for, what are your morals, your values, your integrity, your ethics. Are you going to allow money, power, and greed to dictate your forward movement, or are you going to allow compassion, love, forgiveness, kindness, empathy, grace, mercy to move your forward trajectory? Which one? You get to decide. You get to decide. That's the beauty of this world. You do have free will. It's completely up to you. All of these things you can't take down in the ground with you, and yet this is what we're fighting over. It's crazy. And we're fighting over land, money, power, and none of it you can take into the ground. Is that not amazing when you think about it like that? It's like, why? Because of power. People get so accustomed to having power and money, and then they lose sight of who they are. They really do. They really, really do. That's why my heart goes out to everybody battling that, even those in the political arena, man. We have both sides where there's not as many good as there is evil. And it's sad, because you're not born into this world where you decide, hey, I'm going to be evil. It's the trajectory of the conformity that you're around. It's the culture you're in. It changes you. It changes you. I know it. Been there, done that, got that t-shirt. And that's why I'm such a stickler. I will never do it again. My soul And my intentions are so important to me and my consciousness. I love you guys. Have a great day.